Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This is the evening update of the developments in Ukraine, and I have an update, the evening update from the Ukrainian side and the evening update from the Russian side. As I always do, I try to see if they overlap in any way. And one is you're going to see with paragraphs, whatever. The other one is just with the map and with bullets. So let's get going with this and start with the Ukrainian side. This comes from Ukrinform. It is from Sunday, March 12, 2023. It's 5:27 in Ukraine probably. So this article, this update was completed today, and the 11th of March 2023 at 19:36, 7:36 p.m. Kiev time. Ukraine's Air Forces launches 6 strikes on Russian invaders. During the day, the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine launched 6 strikes on the enemy personnel and military equipment clusters. This is stated in the report of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine as of 6 p.m. March 11. I'm quoting, during the day, the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine launched 6 strikes on the enemy personnel and military equipment clusters. Missiles and artillery units hit 4 enemy personnel clusters, 1 ammunition depot, and 2 locations of electronic warfare stations. End quote, the report reads. Now, this is the way the Russians are giving us the updates in Sputnik. So they show the map, obviously, and they use these little bullets, and each bullet has a meaning, each color. The blue bullets are Ukrainian bombardments in Russia. The yellow bullets sometimes are drones, like these ones that are hit by the Russians, and sometimes they look differently, but they don't have here any other symbol. So let's say this one, for instance, say Russian air defense shot down a Ukrainian drone. So this is when you have it like that. And then the red bullets are usually Russian attacks, bombardments, strikes, shelling. So forces of Vostok Group hit Ukraine Air Forces units using artillery strikes. And then we have the black stuff here with AK-47s. This is where the military units get face-to-face. This is Artemovsk, which is Bakhmut. Things are, getting worse for the Ukrainians here. So these are the legend here in this update coming from the Russians. So let's go back to the Ukrainians. During the day, the enemy launched 12 airstrikes and 2 missile strikes on Zaporizhzhia. S-300 missile struck a civilian infrastructure object. As a result, 1 building was destroyed. No casualties were reported. So in Zaporizhzhia, they don't tell us where. Zaporizhzhia is right here. Let's see. That's a Ukrainian strike. The Russians don't say anything that they hit in Zaporizhzhia. Only this one, Energodar. But this is Ukrainian attack. I don't see anything in Zaporizhzhia coming from the Russians. It's just the Ukrainians stating that because it's Zaporizhzhia Oblast. All right, let's go back to the Ukrainians. The enemy also launched 34 MLRS strikes. One of them targeted a civilian infrastructure object in the city of Kherson. Now, Kherson, let's move on to Kherson. On the map, Kherson is right here in the south. Right here is Kherson. By the Dnieper River here, flowing nicely into the Black Sea. And here is the Crimean Peninsula. So Kherson is right here. So let's see if I push on this. Let's see if it's going to tell me anything about Kherson. That's Antonovka in Kherson region. Russian artillery units hit a parking lot for Ukrainian military equipment. 18 Ukraine Armed Forces soldiers were killed, 10 were injured, 8 cars were destroyed. And let's see what this says. Russian artillery units hit a parking lot, 6 UAF servicemen were killed, 2 were wounded, 1 M777 howitzer was destroyed. So this is they did in Kherson. And this guy said here that they launched 34 MLRS strikes. As noted, the enemy's main goal is to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk and Luhansk region. The occupiers focus their efforts on conducting offensive operations in Liman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Marinka, and Shakhtarsk direction. So that is the only place where the Russians are really conducting offensive operations, where are in Luhansk, right here, and Donetsk. And this is the AK-47. This is where the Russians say they meet. This is Bakhmut, this is Avdiivka, this is Marinka, this is Uhledar or Vuhledar. And the other one's Liman is north here, but the Russians don't say anything about it. So let's see, they mentioned, see, Liman. Liman is in the north and Shakhtarsk is lower. So let's see what the Russians are saying about this little offensive. Let's start with the Bakhmut, which the Russians are calling it Artemovsk. Private military company Wagner founder Evgeny Prigozhin said that assault groups are beginning to move deep into the territory of the Azov metalworking plant. That's exactly what they said yesterday. So they didn't update this thing here, but I made a video on Bakhmut today, an update, where Prigozhin was standing on top of a high building on the rooftop, and he was saying that he is almost in the center of Bakhmut, and he was very proud of it. But I'm surprised he doesn't get shot or blown up somehow. You know, he exposes himself so much and he's surviving, but if he continues like this, we're gonna hear about that. Now, this is in Avdiivka, another area where the Russians are conducting offensive operations with foot soldiers. Fighting is taking place on the outskirts of the city. Marinka, the same in the western part of the city. Fighting is taking place in the western part of the city, in this right here. I'm sorry, in the other side. And here we have Ugledar, which is Vuhledar in Ukraine. Fighting is taking place on the outskirts of the city. Forces of the Vostok group hit Ukrainian armed forces units using artillery strikes. Not much. Let's go back to the Ukrainians. Now the Ukrainians start talking about the front starting north, which they started usually with Chernihiv right here, or Chernigov by the Russians. Then it goes Sumy, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. And let's see what the Ukrainians did here, because it seems like Ukrainians attacked here in Bryansk, or whatever this is, Belevista, and in Belgorod. Right, so in Belgorod. The head of the region said Ukrainian forces shelled the village. The shelling damaged an agricultural hangar. One civilian was wounded. Well, then these guys lie like the other ones. Nothing happened with, no, just hangars and civilians. You didn't hit any military personnel or infrastructure. No. Now, the head of the region said that Ukrainian forces shelled the village. No casualties or damages were reported. They just shot like crazy. It's like, okay, I think it's time for us to pretend we're fighting. Okay. All right. So in Volyn, Polisia, Sivershchnia, and Slobozhzhia directions, the operational situation remains stable without significant changes. The Russian Federation maintains a significant military presence in the territory of the Republic of Belarus. Yeah, 10,000 people. Oh my God. During the day, the enemy fired mortars and artillery at the Kharkiv region, so in the north, Kharkiv. This area right here, they say. Let's move on. In Kupiansk and Liman directions, it's the same area. The enemy maintains a significant military presence in the border areas with Ukraine to prevent our units from being redeployed to other directions. What does that mean? They say that here, this area, all right, the Russians don't allow them to go right here, probably. They don't allow them to go here. Let's read again. In Kupiansk and Liman, the enemy maintains a civilian presence in the border areas with Ukraine to prevent our units from being there. Yeah, okay. So they keep their units probably here somewhere, so their units cannot go and help somewhere else. That's what it is. Yeah, the same thing is what's going on here with the border with Belarus, which is right here in the north. The Russians keep some 10,000 losers here because you don't do anything with 10,000. And why? To keep the Ukrainian troops here instead of going and helping over there. They will keep a big number here waiting. And these guys keep 10,000. 10,000 is not enough to, I don't know. Anyway, that's the whole goal, keeping those guys busy over there. During the day, the enemy unsuccessfully tried to break through the defenses of the Ukrainian troops, firing artillery at the populated settlements along the contact line. And it goes in Kharkiv region, then they go and talk about Luhansk region, then Donetsk regions. So they talk about exchange of shelling in these regions right here. That's it. And that's right, because you have the red bullets, and that's shelling by the Russians. All right, let's move back here. The enemy also made unsuccessful attempts. These guys are so unsuccessful. Why don't they just go home? The enemy also made unsuccessful attempts to go on the offensive near Khrinikivka in Kharkiv region and Spirnia in Donetsk region. Having suffered manpower and equipment losses, the invaders retreated to their previous positions. What did I tell you? In Bakhmut direction, the enemy keeps assaulting the town of Bakhmut, but the Ukrainian defenders repelled numerous attacks. Near the contact line, the enemy shelled the settlements of, and they give us Bakhmut, Ivanivske, and others in Donetsk region. In Avdiivka, Marinka, and Shaftar's directions. So that is south. This is this area right here. Let's see what they say. The enemy tried to go on the offensive towards Kamyanka, Sivierne, Pervomiaiske, Neverske, Marinka in Donetsk region. The invaders had no success. I mean, I don't have to even say that, because without saying, that's by default. Areas of the settlements near the contact line, including, and they give us some, including Vuhledar, which is important, in Donetsk region came under enemy fire, so they just shelled it. The enemy continues to defend itself in Zaporizhzhia and Kherson direction, so that is right in the south. They say here the Russians are defending Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and then it's Kherson. And indeed, the Ukrainians have been very consistent in bombarding these areas. But I've seen this for about 2 weeks. They started keeping it like this, busy, busy, busy. At the same time, the enemy shells intensively the nearest settlements, and that is in Zaporizhzhia region and in Kherson region. I don't think so, based on the, I don't think so, because if I see here, this is nothing, and this here would be Zaporizhzhia, and here is Kherson, which I just already mentioned, these two, the parking lot bombardments, and that's it. That's it with the update on the Russians and Ukrainians. As I said, they all lie. I don't have to say that again, but I keep saying it because I don't know who's watching. And then that's one thing. The other thing is, this update is a general update. I like general updates. I don't like, hey, 3 people moved 10 meters there, came back. It's a micro. I like micro, but if you stay and look at a micro situation, you stay 5 days just to talk about one line. So many things occur over there. Macro, I love it because it's the whole thing from above, and you can see little, here a little bit here, then go back here, move here. Then you can see the maneuvers that gonna point to certain kind of tactical maneuvers. I like that more than boom. You know what I mean? No, zoom. So here it is, my friends. Short one, general information of whatever is going on over there. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.